Ladies and gentlemen, dear colleagues, thank you for the invitation. Well, can we go back to business as usual after the crisis? I would say certainly not. First of all, because the crisis isn't over, and Greece is only one example. And secondly, that would be making the grave mistake of overlooking the roots of the problem we faced in 2008. Let me state the obvious. A plastic credit card or a piece of paper called the pound or the euro is intrinsically worth nothing. Its worth amounts to the credibility and the trust it is backed up by. And the failure of our financial system, first and foremost, created deep insecurity. It undermined credibility and trust. And trust is essential. It is essential for our financial system's health. So how was trust partially at least restored? It was government. Government that restored, even if partially, the trust of our people in our economies. First of all, by banking the banks with billions or trillions of bailouts. But secondly, by fiscally stimulating our economies so that we could avoid moving from a recession into a deep depression. So let's not forget that. And let's not forget that it was the United Kingdom's Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, who took the initiative in Europe and in the G20 to promote these policies to convince a highly conservative thinking world leadership that their ways and their thinking must change. And he was successful. So credit need go to you, Gordon, for your genuine and effective efforts. But was that it? Is it over? Are we out of the tunnel? I believe it would be irresponsible towards our citizens if we were to say everything is now on track. We need to hit at three challenges in a concerted and systematic way, which I believe are at the root of the basic challenges we have in this new era, in order to avoid a global financial crisis 2.0. How do we restore trust? I believe by important change, and I'll highlight three problems just to see the areas where I think we need to focus on. Speculation, parallel banking systems, lack of transparency, these were areas which created the financial crisis. They continue to exist, and we in Greece feel the brunt of this problem daily. Secondly, inequality around the world, poverty, but also unemployment in the developing world, in the developed world, layoffs, small and medium-sized enterprises closing, the insecurity that's creating a vicious circle of diminishing savings in the banks, which at the same time, however, are not used in a way to stimulate investment in our economy and create new jobs. And that brings me to the third point, our failure to decide on concerted action concerning global warming, particularly in Copenhagen, despite some of the important steps we made. That has not helped create a secure framework for investment in this area, which would mobilize capital around the world, and which also would allow both for our countries, our economies, and the world to boost growth, but boost growth in a way which is sustainable and green. So I would put them under three titles: global democratic governance with rules and regulations necessary to create a more secure financial system on an equal footing around the world, hitting inequality, secondly, and creating a more just society, more redistributive around the world, and a new model of green growth, a green economy, which will bring us green jobs. And these are certainly not simply technical financial questions. These are highly political issues. So people, as the progressive leaders here, or as Gordon Brown, who does participate with José Luis Zapatero in the G20, will be very important in the next meetings, what their decisions are going to be. I, as head of the Socialist International, have over the past year worked with a number of leaders and with the help of Joe Stiglitz, come up with quite a few proposals on these issues, on questions of systemic risk, how we need to reevaluate financial tools, attack speculation, rethink the role and accountability of credit rating agencies, taking drastic action on offshore companies and tax havens, make sure that hedge funds play by the rules, and also see how we could look in more innovative ways of financing both the climate change programs and our economies through, for example, carbon taxes, transaction taxes, and a number of other means. I also believe that we progressives know how to deal with the market in a much better way than the conservatives, for a very simple reason. For them, the market is God, and you don't fool around with God. For us, it is simply a tool in order to serve our people and our economies in a better way. That's why I think we are the ones that can be much more effective in regulating our economies and the world challenges we have ahead of us. Let me just finish by relating these issues to Greece. First of all, Greece, our problem is our problem, our responsibility. It is a political one, but there are also some fallacies which I think are highly political, also which are highly biased. Yes, the previous Greek government was reckless, a conservative government, lack of transparency, corruption, cronyism, high inequalities in our society, lack of cohesion, the poor getting poorer, the rich richer. And rather than reshaping our economy into a green economy, there were simply short-term profits, for example, on land profiteering and other means. But it's a fallacy to say that the Greeks are reckless, because that would simply mean that the problem is a problem of DNA. Forgetting the fact that it was a conservative government, forgetting the fact that we did have elections in a democratic society, and the Greek people decided to change, and the mandate was a mandate of change, and the program is a program of change. And the fact that today, with difficult measures we are taking in order to change, in order to hit corruption, in order to become a green economy, in order to make Greece a more viable economy, with these difficult measures, Greece, our government today has a popularity rating of between 62 to 69%. A second fallacy is that the problem is only Greek. It would be very cozy to say that it is only Greek. However, there is a fear of contagion. Higher interest rates for us in borrowing mean higher interest rates for others in Europe, and that undermines the growth potential of our economies, the credibility of the European economy, and, of course, creates problems with currencies. A third fallacy is that we are looking for bailouts as the banks were bailed out. We're not looking for bailouts. We're not looking for money from other countries. We are simply saying we have a program, a progressive program for change. It's called the Growth and Stability Pact in the European Union. And we need support for this program to make it effectively implemented. And we will do whatever necessary and whatever measures are necessary to make sure that we reach the targets we have put. For example, such as deficit reduction, but also with growth. I say this because what we are simply saying is that we would like to be able to borrow on the same terms as other countries in the European Union and the Eurozone. So I think it was a very important decision last week when 27 countries said, we will be together, we will stand together, we will support Greece in its implementation of this program, we will fight against possible speculation, and we also have said we will take on our responsibilities. So in fact, Greece does become a very good investment, becoming a much more transparent country with social cohesion, and with a future green economy. So I would say, as a progressive leader, the crisis in Greece is for us an opportunity also for Greece. And the crisis around the world, whether it is the financial crisis or the global climate change crisis or the question of poverty and inequality, should be and can be an opportunity for change for our world, to making this world a better world. And that is our task as progressive global leaders. Thank you very much.